Okay, hi guys, thanks for watching. Today I want to give you a quick tip or a demonstration on the technique you should use if you're starting out tattooing in order to pull clean lines. So this is the technique I want to learn you. Because your needle depth has to stay consistent, the angle of your machine has to stay consistent, and your hand speed. Don't think about the hand speed yet, just about the needle depth and the angle of your machine. In order to control that, you have to hold your machine in a specific way. So I do that like so. I take my pinky, my ring finger, and my middle finger, and I stack them on top of each other, like this. With my thumb and my index finger, I grab my machine and press it against my middle finger. My middle finger, ring finger, and my pinky, that's the three fingers I rest on the skin, like this. And because I hold the machine tight to my middle finger, I have a solid construction, and my needle depth can stay consistent because I control my machine while holding my machine like this. If you hold your machine like this, like you hold a pen or a pencil when you're writing or drawing, it's almost impossible to control your needle depth because there's too much movement in your hand to control that depth. Because we're talking millimeters here. If you go a half millimeter too deep, you might be getting a blowout. So you have to have a solid construction to keep that needle depth and to keep that angle steady. So when you're tattooing like this, the second thing is you can't use your wrist. When you're drawing or writing, you use your wrist while doing so. But when you do that when tattooing, this is what happens. If you start using your wrist, the machine starts to angle, like so. And if your machine starts to angle, that line won't be consistent throughout. Angle of your machine has to stay the same throughout the line. So when tattooing, you actually have to lock up your wrist in order to keep that angle the same throughout the line. So you use the three fingers to rest on the skin, controlling that needle depth. You lock up your wrist and your hand, keeping it tight so the angle of the machine stays the same, and you actually move your arm as a whole. So you use your elbow to pull, or you push sideways to the front, to the back, doesn't matter which way, as long as everything stays the same and consistent. That's the only way you can get a clean and solid line, is by being consistent in your movements. So when I run my machine, let me see. I actually measured this up earlier. I hope it will focus. But when my machine runs, the needle sticks out 2.5 millimeters. So let's say the half of that, like 1.25 millimeters, is the sweet spot for pulling a clean line. That means that the remaining 1.25 has to still stick out of the skin throughout the whole line. So that's going to be your focus point when pulling that line. So when you're pulling a line, you're actually focusing on that remaining needle that's still sticking out of the skin after you press it into the skin. So I'll show you. First off, always lube up your fingers, and always lube up the area you want to pull a line, so you'll be able to pull a smooth and steady line. That's just making it yourself easy. So let me demonstrate. Okay, half the needle goes in, and I lock it up, and I pull the line, focusing on that remaining half of the needle still sticking out. And it doesn't matter which way you go, just focusing on that being the same. And the same goes for the angle of your machine. And your hand speed has to be at a consistent speed throughout. And of course, the angle, you have some play with it, a few degrees left or right, but not too much. Just don't go too far with your angle, and just focus on that last part of the needle still sticking out of the skin. So the part from skin to the tube, that needle part, that's the point you have to focus on to keep that line consistent. So what you have to practice is the way you hold this machine. Like I showed you, keep these three fingers on the skin to have a solid base. That will be your moving point. Lube it up so it goes smoothly and steadily, and keep that angle of your machine the same angle as possible. It's all about controlling that needle depth, controlling that angle of your machine with the right hand speed, and you will be pulling clean lines in no time. So just go ahead, practice this at home. Go try put it in 1 millimeter, hold that depth, put it in 2 millimeters, hold that depth. If you control your machine, you'll be pulling clean lines in no time. Practice makes perfect. That's just the truth. So if this video helped you, please subscribe to my channel. If you would like to see a video on a different topic, please let me know in the comments, and I'll come back with a video later. Thanks for now. Peace out and keep practicing.